Have you ever driven to a haunted road? What would you do if you saw literal hell? Has a creature on the internet always been around? Today we test the believability of Listener Submission Collection Volume 7.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
Have you ever had a scary story?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, you have?
Yes.
Yes, we listened to it.
Did you ever
Episode, like 50?
You remember episode 100?
Yeah,
You've been
that's
there.
what it was.
Who was I talking to?
I was there.
Okay.
I was there. I just remember the number.
Do you remember the number?
Yeah, 100 you just said.
I did just say it.
Yeah.
It's true.
I didn't know it before that. But my point is that people have scary stories all the time.
I would say seeing literal hell classifies as a scary story.
Yeah, that one's pretty pretty good.
Kind of challenges my belief system if we're talking about literal hell here.
Yeah, well, I want to hear your opinion on it. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting where that story comes from.
I don't think it could not be interesting.
You'd be surprised.
I want to hear a boring hell story.
A boring hell story.
Yeah. It's called my 9 to 5, Tyler.
It's pretty accurate. Anyway, so we're going to talk about 4 listener submissions. Now they're short, they're sweet. Well, they're not that short, but they're sweet. They're like not every episode, not every listener submission has to be this narrative, this whole giant story, right? Odyssey.
That would be turned into a film later.
Eventually one day.
Yeah.
No, these are short, kind of like they're like chicken nuggets. They're small, they're crispy, they're delicious.
So you said 3 questions to start the episode.
Yeah.
And you have 4 stories.
Yeah.
Someone's listening to this and is like, oh, my story is the one that didn't merit a question.
It's not that it didn't merit a question. It's just
it wasn't as good as the other ones. That's what you're saying. It's kind of. I'm just kidding. You can't break the formula now.
No, what was I going to do?
Randomly at episode 206, we decided to change it. I'm excited. I love listener submissions. Really quick before we get into it, just want to remind all of you, if you have a paranormal story, a UFO encounter, a ghost haunting in your living room, in your bedroom, you can go to believingthebizarre.com, submit your experience. There's a form, but we've said it before. I recommend not writing it in the form. Maybe write it in a Word doc so you don't feel confined, constricted. Just, let the whole story out, all of it in great detail, and then Command A, Command C, and then take it to that little form, Command V, paste it in there, and then send it our way.
You'd be surprised how much that form can expand.
Yeah.
It fits. But that being said, let's get to the first story. So this is from our listener, Anthony. It takes place in New Jersey.
Okay.
That's where Clinton Road is. And Clinton Road is one of the most haunted roads in America in general. Now, it's a road outside of his hometown in Rockaway, northern New Jersey. And it's called the scariest, most haunted road in America.
You just hit every red light every time from every angle, no matter what.
And then some guy sneaks out of the bushes and pumps your gas.
Oh, no. Yeah, don't you dare you put a gun out on you. You're not pumping your own gas. Get back in the car.
It's against the law. So apparently it's a long and windy road that navigates around a few different lakes. Now, most of the road is desolate and surrounded by a very dense forest or water on either side. He said it's a fun road to drive in the day, but at night it gets a little spooky, which is what we like here. We like spooky.
It navigates a few different lengths.
Lakes. Yeah.
I'm like, the distance equations in my head.
Yeah, right. It goes from meters to
So during
kilometers.
the day, it's peaceful and pretty, but by night, watch out.
That's when the not deer come out. He said, first of all, it is a fact that May 1983, a cyclist was murdered and dumped on the side of the road. And there's also a cross castle off the nearby trail that is said to be a ritual spot and has caused various unexplained occurrences. And then there are the unconfirmed strange stories of animal sightings, strange animal sightings, the KKK and Druidic rituals, and the story of the Ghost Boy Bridge. And last but not least, there is a Dead Man's Curve, which is also located by the Ghost Boy Bridge. Supposedly, a girl crashed her Camaro in 1988 on that curve, and the ghost car can be manifested just by speaking about it. And there are supposed to be many other unexplained stories in the area, but those are just the local legends. Now, Anthony has his own experience in the summer of 2020. So he said, quote, "My friends and me were hungry for anything for us to do. We were college students and got sent home, and many fun local attractions were closed for COVID. So every so often, we would give Clinton Road a visit, mostly in the wee hours of the night, for our love of cars makes this spot the best to drive down, probably a little more fast and recklessly than we should have. There is even a small dirt place to park off the Dead Man's Curve where we would relax, talk, and poke fun at the legends involving the rituals occurring nearby. Anyway, it has been 2 occasions on this stretch in 2020 where we believed we experienced phantom headlights. The first time, me and my friends were driving up the road in one car from Route 23 when we came up behind another car. We followed this car a good few minutes until we reached the Dead Man's Curve. The car drove around the bend, and of course, we lost sight of it. However, we went around the curve shortly after. We could not find that car. The stretch of road after that curve is a straightaway for a while, and we knew there was nowhere this car could have turned off to. All of us in the car immediately acknowledged the car's disappearance and tried to decipher what could have happened for the next hour at least. We could not explain it. The taillights simply disappeared when it rounded the curve, and that was that. Now, the second experience made us very uncomfortable. My friends and I were in 2 different cars. 2 in the first car, and I was driving with a friend in the second. We had just left on our way home from goofing off the Dead Man's Curve / Ghost Boy Bridge. Suddenly, a pair of headlights appeared behind us and stayed awfully close to my car. My passenger also saw them. They were high up, so there is no doubt that it was some kind of SUV or a truck. My friends and I were driving the road pretty fast, taking the curves at speeds that a truck simply should not be able to do. Yet, the headlights stayed inches away from the bumper, and all that time, we thought that they were chasing us for some reason. But once we got close to the end of the road, at Route 23, the headlights disappeared out of thin air. I was shaking as we were certain they wouldn't chase us unless they had no reason to. When we got back home, we talked about it. My friends in the other car didn't see another pair of headlights beside me, but my passenger and I stood by what we saw. Something was chasing us and then suddenly vanished once we neared the end of the road. And that's my experience at Clinton Road. End quote. So what do you think about haunted lights?
Haunted lights.
Or ghost roads, I guess.
Ghost roads. I feel like that road probably could be its own episode one day.
I think so. Yeah, when I was going through this, I was like, that could be its own one, but I was like, but I want to do a collection.
Is there any chance it's just a very aggressive driver?
Where would it go
Jersey?
then? Where would it go?
They all swerved off the road. They were drunk.
They all exploded.
No, they just kind of looking.
I don't
know.
think so.
The ghost lights on roads are a phenomenon that we haven't gone in too much detail with before.
No.
The most I think I really can remember of it was when we were talking with James Willis, the author, and he mentioned that one story about like the ghost motorcycle or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's on YouTube if you want to check it out. James A. Willis, and we interviewed him, and he was awesome.
It's a great guy.
I don't know. So if it wasn't real and they would have brake checked it.
Yeah, what would happen?
Yeah, imagine a ghost car going through you and your real car.
Oh my God.
It just like all of a sudden turns to like 10 degrees in your car for a second. Or it's a real car and you messed up.
Yeah, I always imagine like if like when I'm like driving and like a car seems awfully aggressive, I think to myself, I really don't want to meet that person. Because like if you get into an accident, like you probably have to meet them and exchange insurance and stuff. It's like I don't want to meet people. That's why I'm such a safe driver.
I would never really brake check people, but there's definitely times that I feel like brake checking people.
I got brake checked when I was in high school with my friends.
Yeah.
Like my friends did it to me because they're assholes.
I hate the people that speed up, get in front of you, and then immediately turn right.
Yeah.
But that's not what the story's about.
No, it's about haunted cars.
Haunted cars.
Which I think is a very interesting topic.
There's probably a certain level of danger. Like it's mixing danger that you would naturally have even if it was a real human with the supernatural. I wonder if in that moment, How much of that do you think they thought it was something strange? Or was it just when they couldn't tell? It was like, once they realized they didn't know where it went. You think that's the first moment?
I think so. I think when they realized that they were trying to shake it and it wouldn't, like, in the second story, they're trying to shake it and they couldn't shake it despite it being so high up. I think that's like the first sign. There's so much emotion with driving in general. People get so angry driving.
Yeah.
That has to carry over.
It's cold. I'm angry driving. It's hot. I'm angry driving. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder. And when does the realization or the awareness that I'm on Clinton Road come in? Like, is it something that immediately, like, I see a weird light behind me and I'm on Clinton Road, or is it like an afterthought? Like, where'd that car go? And then 5 minutes go by and you're like, whoa.
No, I think you're conscious of where you are.
Okay.
But let's move on to the next story.
Hey, Charlie, where should we go for our Halloween Live special this year? I'm thinking of either the Bermuda Triangle or the Island of the Haunted Dolls.
Either way, you better be careful looking at flights because they always raise the prices when you start searching.
Way ahead of you, buddy. We're rocking with Surfshark VPN.
Oh yeah, that's right. Surfshark VPN is a virtual private network that keeps you safe and completely masks everything you do online.
Exactly. So you're guaranteed to always get the best prices when shopping online, from Amazon to your next flight to a super haunted location.
So that's great for flights, but what about websites I don't want to use the VPN for?
That's no problem with Surfshark. It offers a bypasser feature that allows you to list sites that you can open without a VPN connection, like Netflix if you want.
Well, speaking of Netflix, unlike them, Surfshark is down with sharing your account.
In fact, you can conveniently share one account with all your friends and essentially pay less than a piece of Hubba Bubba bubblegum for the ultimate virtual security.
If you want to take things a step further, Surfshark Antivirus will perform quick, full scans of your device and ensure your computer is virus-free with real-time protection.
So take action today. Secure your privacy with Surfshark.
Use coupon code BAZAAR for an extra 3 months free at surfshark.deals/bazaar today. I call this story The Made Up Man.
Unbelievable.
Let me see if I can name her.
It's a respectful man who keeps a good job,
Good.
cares for my needs.
He always asks me what I want to do. He never plays video games.
And we always eat really bad pizza. Well, we eat really bad. We eat pizza all the time, but he's really, really fit.
He's in great shape. He drinks beer too.
Yeah. But not too much.
That's my man. All right. So this takes place in San Diego, California. Love San Diego. Great
I've
place.
never been, but I really want to go.
It is beautiful.
I heard it's very expensive.
It is. So this place takes in like 2005.
At the zoo?
Ish. The zoo? No, it doesn't take place in the zoo.
You sure?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. It takes place at a winery.
Okay. That's the second best thing behind a zoo. We need more zoo wineries.
Actually, that'd be a really good business model.
I'd be down.
So Catherine, the one who wrote this story, she said, quote, she said, there are two things that I loved as a kid. Halloween and lying.
I think you're going to say lions.
No.
I'm still in the zoo. I'm sorry.
You gotta get out of the zoo, man. You've been there a lot, though, recently.
Yeah, when you have a child, you end up at the zoo a lot.
Yeah.
Not the San Diego Zoo.
She said, I know it's an odd combination, but let me start with Halloween first. She said, I came to the United States from Istanbul when I was 5 years old. See, everything about America fascinated me. The language, the culture, the wildlife. Since Istanbul was kind of like the city, there was hardly any animals to see. Where in San Diego, you could see seals, raccoons, chipmunks.
So it is about animals.
No, it's not. She said nothing fascinated her more than Halloween, though. Because you see in Turkey.
I'm just saying, you're talking about Istanbul, Turkey.
Oh, my God. You got to get out of it, man.
You got to get out of it.
Maybe it is about animals. I don't know. She said, in Turkey, you don't celebrate Halloween in the late 90s, early 2000s. She said, I do believe now they have parties, but there's no trick-or-treating. So she instantly became obsessed with Halloween, dressing up, collecting candy from strangers, carving pumpkins, and spooky. And how I loved the spooky. So much so that it became ingrained into my DNA. I absolutely loved celebrating Halloween every year and tried to incorporate the spooky into my life as much as possible. From checking out Halloween-related books in the library, writing about ghosts during English class, to the point where my school counselor became concerned for me, watching Goosebumps on repeat, and then later Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Absolutely. Understand that. And then trying to find ghost activity in my own home. I was Halloween. Now for the lying part. I grew up with a very active imagination.
Just like none of that is true. I actually f***ing hate Halloween.
No, of course she loves Halloween. She's listening to this podcast.
You don't have to like Halloween to listen to this podcast.
No, I guess, but they kind of go hand in hand. You go like that.
That was a good high five with yourself.
Thank you. I grew up with a very active imagination. It didn't help that I went through books like Glasses of Water for a Parched Man in the Desert. That is a good metaphor.
Yeah, you can't just say glasses of water. Because there's a lot of people
that don't finish the glasses of water.
Or just don't drink water.
Who's got 2 thumbs and doesn't drink water? It's Tyler.
I drink, well, unless there's Mio.
Unless there's Mio.
Got some Mio around. Or coffee water. Also known as coffee.
Putting it kindly, I tended to make up stories about myself, giving my boring life more spice. I was always known to be quite the fibber. I even lied to my best friend one time, telling her that I was moving back to Turkey just so her mom could let her sleep over. I had a very good friend at that time who was also from Turkey like me. We had our culture in common. We both loved Harry Potter and reading, but she absolutely hated Halloween. We went trick-or-treating together one year and she had to go home early because it freaked her out. This was cruel of me looking back, but I decided to scare my friend one day. Our families went to a winery. The winery was embedded deep into forest, upon a hill where a river ran just between that hill. My friend and I went off on our own and sat on a bench in front of the densely packed area of trees. It was starting to get dark, the perfect setting to scare my friend. So I began my creative storytelling, aka lying. I told my friend how my family came to this exact winery a while back. As my brother and I were playing away from my parents, we saw a man swimming up the river. It was a man dressed in all black. Even though we tried to point out the man to our parents, only my brother and I were able to see this man in all black. And at this point, I could see my friend getting freaked out. It was pretty dark, and we were sitting on the bench that was right on the edge of the forest. And I was telling her about this man in black. I couldn't blame her. I was having too much fun though. But this is the part that humbled me. As I go on with the story, all of a sudden, right behind us, we hear a man's sigh at the nape of our necks. And I remember both of us whipping our heads around to stare into the dark, dark forest. And looking back, we saw 2 yellow orbs floating in the eternal black abyss. Yellow orbs that were the height and distance where a pair of eyes on a man would be. We both jumped out of our skins and ran like lightning speed back to our parents, our hearts pounding out of our chest. We didn't even take a second to try and see who or what the sigh belonged to. I think I was more scared than my friend. Here I was making up this imaginary man, telling a story that never existed. And somehow, that man seemed to materialize behind us. His sigh, the blackness that surrounded him, except for his yellow eyes. As if he jumped right on my head into reality. I was terrified, to say the least. It was just a story. He wasn't supposed to be real. It was as if he'd been listening to my story the whole time, from around the corner of the trees. And his sigh was his way of letting us know that he was, in fact, real. We rode back from the winery. My friend was convinced that whatever that sigh was, and the yellow orbs were following us home. I remember telling her how ridiculous that was, and how that sounded, but I was convinced of the same thing. Continuously looked behind me every second. In my fright, I told my friend that my story was all made up. I remember my friend being too scared to even be angry that the story was fake. There was no man in black. It was all made up. Right? I remember her asking, then what the heck was that sigh and those yellow lights? But I had no answer. And I had no answer to this day. I can say the yellow lights floating orbs were fireflies, as it was summertime. But that sigh, I remember that sigh so well. It was the sigh of a man right behind us. That I cannot explain. End quote.
That was the name of the winery, the Eternal Black Abyss.
I thought you said the sighing man.
The sighing man? No, that'd be silly, Charlie.
That would be silly. Would be silly.
I don't. Well, we rate it at the end. So I'll rate it at the end.
I don't believe you.
I will rate this in the discussion.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think the story that she made up was kind of silly. There's a man swimming in the river wearing all... Is he supposed to be scary? Is he swimming in the river?
I mean, if you told me that, I wouldn't be scared. I mean, like, do you think he needs help?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, no, don't go. Actually, stay right here. It's a spooky man.
Yeah, he's wearing black.
He must be up to no good.
Probably just trying not to drown.
I know. It's like, is he waving at us or is he?
He's like, please don't.
Maybe he died right then and there, and then his ghost is what came up inside behind him.
If she hadn't made up that story, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she made up the whole thing, except for the end, maybe. Maybe she still likes to lie. I don't know. All right. Story number 3. So this takes place in Mud Lake, Idaho.
Mud Lake.
Yeah, it's
Let's
Idaho.
go.
Also from our listener T.
T?
T.
Just the letter T.
Letter T. This one is called The Grim Something.
The Grim Something?
Yeah, I named it.
Okay.
He said, quote, "When I was young, I had quite a few experiences with paranormal stuff. I grew up seeing shadow people and hearing women's voices call my name from our food pantry when it couldn't have been anybody else in the house. This experience is one that still bugs me to this day, and I get emotional thinking about it. He said, I started listening to your podcast about 2 weeks ago, and I'm not quite caught up yet to the whole thing. He said, I was hoping you could read my story and get back to me and tell me if you've heard anything close to this. I grew up in the Mormon religion and got baptized because I'd turned 8. I was not exactly sure of the distance between these events, but they were pretty close together. And that adds to the trauma of this experience. In our house, I slept in the basement. I would often wake up and go to the bathroom and would have to go upstairs past the back door because the basement bathroom was infested with brown recluse spiders."
I don't like that.
I don't like that either. That's why I didn't go in that bathroom. I had such a fear.
My arm's losing flesh. I don't know why.
They're so scary. I know they're not the most poisonous spiders, but they're up there. I know they're called...
Well, venomous, right?
Venomous, you're right. I think they're called fiddlebacks.
Is the design? Or
Yeah, their design.
You could show me a picture of a brown recluse every day for the rest of my life. I still wouldn't be able to identify.
Well, they're just brown spiders.
Yeah, okay, this is going to sound like an out. I feel like because I'm colorblind, I'm terrible at identifying things.
It does sound like an out, yeah.
Like birds and insects.
I can't tell if that ant is a bird or not.
No. I'm not saying a bird with an insect. I'm saying like if it's an oriole.
Like different kinds of birds.
Like a blue jay and a bluebird. I know one's bigger and one's got the head that's a little pointier, but they're like I just feel like I'm really poor at identification.
I got you.
If I saw a spider...
Well, I didn't sound like you're an entomologist.
Everything to me is a wolf spider. They're all low to the ground. Unless they're not low, then it's something else. But if it's low, it's a wolf spider.
I'm always scared of widows.
Yeah. I feel like everyone has a black widow spider story, but... I don't either. But I feel like all my friends are like, oh, one time I guess they're living life and we're just here not seeing black widows.
I'm terrified of them. On this particular night, I woke up, as I often did, and headed to the bathroom. I walked up the stairs, which led to the back door, and our door was one of those white ones with 4 panels and a window that were about head and torso height. We kept a curtain over it for a number of reasons, as you would imagine. But on this night, I walked past it, and as soon as I walked past it, I stopped and decided to look out into the backyard. As I pulled the curtain aside, the first thing I noticed was how bright it was. The moon was probably full, and it was probably a nice clear sky. As I looked at the huge old willow tree that was centered in the yard from the back door, I saw a large cloaked figure. I remember staring from the ground as if a camera was panning in a movie on a character. It was completely black, as if the lights were getting sucked into it, like that Vanta black you see in videos. When my eyes got about 4 feet up from the tree, I saw a skeletal arm protruding out of the cloak and resting on the tree. It appeared to be almost glowing in the moonlight. I kept on trying to figure out what I was seeing, and as I got further up, the arm disappeared into the cloak. I noticed that there was a hood, and as I kept going up, at the top, I saw a skull where a person that was 6 or 7 feet tall would be. I was still processing what I was looking at and studying the features of the skull as I got to the eye sockets. And the first thing I noticed is that they are darker than the cloak. It was devoid of light, in the most absolute sense it possibly could be. As I began looking into the sockets, it was almost as if I was sucked in. The world around me faded, as if I was going to a dark tunnel. I was moving forward. on a track or a treadmill. At first, it was all complete darkness. I wasn't sure what to do because I was frozen. I couldn't contort my face or move or anything. I'm not even sure I was breathing. And then in the darkness, I saw a low red light. I remember when the objects started to fill in the surroundings, everything was on fire. I specifically remember watching a park bench with a lamppost next to it melt because the heat of the flames that was on everything. Everything was on fire. The concrete, the streets, the buildings, the people, everything. I was forced to watch as the world around me melted into nothingness because of these flames. This went on for what seemed like forever. I'm not sure what measurement of time I could say. The feeling I got during this experience, I still lack the words to say, besides utter evil in its most pure form. After what seemed like forever watching all these horrible things happen and traveling through this hellscape world, I was suddenly flung backwards, still going through this tunnel, all the way back to my body, just at Mach 5. As I returned to the window, still staring at what I compared to be the Grim Reaper without its scythe in my backyard, I remember tears filling my eyes, and I was able to move again. As soon as I regained movement, I ran to my mom, crying, and woke her up. She tried to calm me down as I tried to whimper about what I just saw. We ended up saying a prayer and eventually passed out in her bed with tears streaming down my face. The next day, my mom and dad investigated the backyard, and we tried to rationalize what I saw. That's the end of that experience, which makes me emotional to this day. I've always been kind of skeptical about what I saw, but I've always reflected on it, and I'm pretty convinced that it happened. I don't think it would have the same emotions about it to this day if it didn't happen. I still lack the words to describe the evil that I saw, and personally believe I was peering into hell. I'm hoping that you guys might have some kind of information or anything remotely like this. I don't. I never really thought about looking into it until I found your podcast. End quote. Yeah, that's the end of the story.
Do you have any information for him?
No. What? No.
He's asking you, Charlie.
I guess he saw the devil. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I think the spiders were a tease at the beginning. you know, honestly, it's like in the shows like BoJack where like the kids dress up in a trench coat and they think it's a person.
Yeah.
I think all the spiders dressed up in a cloak just to f with them. And except for the arms, they had to. Okay.
They're like prop arms.
If this was me, I don't know, how old do you think he is here?
He's 8.
Yeah. If this was me, I feel like as a fatherly duty, I would have to drive to Spencer's or Spirit or something, buy a fake skeleton, run outside, put it on the willow tree, and be like, son, you just saw this decoration I had. It's all fine.
There you go.
No, okay. So do you want to know what I actually think it could be?
Yes, I do actually.
Do you have a theory? Do you have
I have no idea, man.
Okay, because this is up your alley. This is up your alley here.
Okay.
Because I don't think it was a demon.
No, I don't either.
I don't think it was a demon. Elemental. Oh. Do you think he ran into an elemental? A less than good elemental?
Actually, that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
Maybe a fire elemental.
Because it reminds me a little bit of like when we were in the cemetery and we had our experience and we were feeling like we were being chased and just talking to like our friend Ethan about it and just like the idea that, you know, when he was going on, like there's things that walk this earth that are older than we would ever know. And, you know, so it's not like demonic, but I wonder if this could have been more on the sinister side of things, elemental.
I like that idea. That's interesting. I think that could be it. Just drawing on that energy.
I'm also shocked because he described this skeleton against a willow tree in more detail than I could describe you a foot away from me.
I know.
Like, how is this kid seeing this amazing I know he said like the moonlight. And I know when it's a full moon, you can see better. But holy shit, this was like he was like 5 feet away from this thing.
I think that's part of what it is, right? I think he was able to describe it so well because he wanted to transfix him.
Another thing, and this could be reaching in terms of like play on this, on not necessarily the subconscious, but let's how old do you think this person is? Obviously you don't know, but just guess right now, currently today, how old do you think this person is if you had to guess?
Late 20s.
Okay. This happened when he was 8 though.
Yeah.
When you have a traumatic event, I feel like there's a certain, like you grasp onto it in certain ways and like some people repress and things like that. When you were reading it, and this was in his words?
Yeah.
When you were reading it, the way he described it was so, how do I want to say this? It was like childlike sentences, but not the whole story.
Right.
It's the description of it. Like when he's talking about the arm and going up the arm to the shoulder, and then there's the head with where it's 6 foot. I'm like, you already said what it was.
Yeah.
It makes part of me finds it more believable because I feel like when he was describing it,
Like
he was transported back to an 8-year-old.
He clung on to when he was 8 and said it like how he would have been when he was 8.
And that means something to me.
I also wonder how much religion factors into this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because he'd just been baptized, he said.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I almost had you.
It sounded
I almost got you.
Biblical though, right?
Yeah. But he was baptized, so he's good. So the hooded guy's like, damn it.
Next time.
You know what I mean, Trey. Well, never mind.
Oh my God. You're so dramatic.
Well, hot in here. Well, not over here.
I am perfectly cool. So let's move on to our last story.
It may look nice outside when the sun's shining, but here in Ohio, it's still super cold.
That means you can't open the window and let in the nice fragrances.
Exactly. So we're subject to smells of litter box, baby diapers, and burned mushrooms.
Just to be clear, we don't live together.
That is why we both choose Scentair for professional quality fragrances in our homes.
Fun fact, this is Scentair's 30th anniversary, just like us, kind of.
30s do be the new 20s.
That said, they've had an amazing 3 decades of scenting resorts, stores, and theme parks, along with thousands of homes just like ours.
So how are they celebrating the dirty 30s? By adding new scents, of course.
That includes landscape scents like Isle of Capri, Lush Bamboo, and Oud.
Along with decadent fragrances such as Mocha Creme Brulee and Wild Berries and Vanilla Cream.
You know, I'm also a big fan of their Coastal Lavender scent because it has a pet calming complex, which is fantastic for my high-strung dogs while I'm away. They get really anxious sometimes, just like me.
So starting this Thursday, March 28th through March 30th, Scentair shoppers can save 35% off all their new fragrances, but y'all bizarros can take an extra 25% off your entire order with the promo code BIZARRE.
Again, that's 25% off with promo code BIZARRE at Scentair.com. This one is called Slender Man in My Room.
Slender Man in My Room. Yes. I'm already leaning one way.
We'll see.
Well, you named it.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
This takes place in Illinois, and this is from...
Whoa.
What?
It's Illinois, my friend.
Is it? There's an S to the end.
Did you have a traumatic experience in Illinois? I need to know if you had a 7-year-old traumatic experience in Illinois.
Illinois. I've always said it like that. I don't know. I've never been correct, I guess.
No.
Illinois?
Yeah.
All right. Why is there an S, though?
For people to know. It's a gauge to know friendship.
Okay. Illinois. The year is 2012. When did Slenderman happen?
It came about in 2009.
Oh, okay. So it already happened.
But 2012 is when it started popping. Like the video game came out in 2012.
Okay.
When did the stabbings happen?
Oh, I don't remember.
That was later. That was like 2014, 15, 16, I think. But 2012 is like when I started learning about Slenderman and the game came out and all of that.
All right. Well, maybe this influenced her, but we'll read the story anyway. So, quote, she said, "Hey guys, just started listening recently and came across your episode, number 3, Slenderman being a tulpa. And I actually have a weird story about that. When I graduated college in 2012, I needed to spend a few months living in my childhood home with my parents. I moved in what was technically my brother's old room, but it was bigger than my old one. I brought up this experience to him recently, and he didn't want to talk about how weird he felt the energy was in that room. He said, quote, "Yep, no, that room was weird. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that." End quote. Anyway, she continues, "While I was sleeping in that room one night with my childhood cat snuggled up against me, I opened my eyes to see a tall figure in a black suit bending over my bed. He was staring inches from my face, and I say staring, but he didn't have a face himself. Just a blank, white, featureless head. With this thing inches from my face, freshly awake, I had the faintest flight or fight debate in my head, realizing in quick succession that 1, this thing was way too close to run from. 2, I had nothing but an array of stuffed animals near my bed to try to use to fight it off with. And 3, that near the door was a heavy printer that I could reasonably throw at the thing. Having made my decision, I sprung out of bed yelling, fuck, scaring my poor cat into the hallway and picking up the printer. The cat woke up Dad, and he yelled at my name, and hearing my dad was awake broke whatever energy was happening in the room. I turned around, the printer was still in my hands, and I watched this tall, suited, faceless thing dissolve into sand in front of me. Granted, this was 2012, so it's not impossible I saw images of Slender Man online before this incident, but I really don't think I'd seen him. A few months later, I came across Slender Man mentioned in a creepy Reddit post, and when I clicked through the link pics, I completely lost my breath. That was my dude, just stylized a bit. I do not remember seeing those images before that moment, and that experience felt so real in that moment, down to the grains of sand he dissolved into, that I am not about to risk it. That dude's probably real. End quote.
It's a hard thing to battle with because we know where it originated from.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that he didn't experience a haunting.
Yeah. But it's interesting that it made that, it picked that visage to appear to. Like it decided to look like that.
The imagery?
Yeah. It's hard because we know it's, it's hard. And that's why.
I agree.
Those are my stories. Let's move on to the discussion. This is the point in the episode where we like to stop and thank all those who have joined our Patreon. We've got Brian, Tyler, Lieutenant Creeps.
Not me, by the way.
Marissa, Rebby, Peachy Bun, Vextherol, and, of course, Darren. Thank you so much for joining the... Thank you so much for joining the... I cannot talk tonight. Thank you so much.
That is a problem. It's not a good thing.
Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. There's a lot of content on there. One thing I want to highlight is Remembering the Bizarre. And that is where Tyler and I play a game against Ben. Now, typically, Tyler and I are facing off against each other in these games, but this is the one where we take our knowledge of the past, which is actually pretty good sometimes, and we face against Ben, and we try to see if we can, outsmart him, because he listens to the episodes in the past, and we get to play against each other, and if we get more than like a certain amount, we win.
So it's basically a quiz. Ben quizzes us on our old episodes, and it's fun for you and me, because we get to relive them and see what we remember. But it's also fun, because whenever there's a game, it's like watching the Game Show Network. You get to play along.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll beat us.
Maybe you'll
let us know. Brag in the comments.
Yeah. Has that happened yet? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
What's something that you like, Tyler?
I'm going to talk about the month and the expectations. Because, let me tell you, and I'm not knocking other podcasts. There's way more successful podcasts than us, and you should be supporting other podcasts if you like them. But, in my experience, a lot of podcasts say they put out bonus content. Join our Patreon, you get some bonus content.
What's that mean?
What does that mean? And I'm going to tell you. We have a whole list of content that we put out, let's just say yearly, monthly, but we break up the months to make it a little bit more palatable for our schedules. But we have it broken down by month. And you might say, okay, I could join and they got bonus content. But let me tell you specifically for March, just March alone, this is the content that is going out. Quiz, Charlie quizzed me. Horror movie review, me and Ben watched a horror movie and reviewed it. Voicemail clip, which just came out today as of the recording of this podcast. We give a prompt, you guys call us, leave us a voicemail, and we respond to them. Do You Believe the Bizarre? A game where producer Ben writes stories, finds stories, we listen to them. So you get 9 creepy stories, and me and Charlie have to guess which one Ben wrote. Beyond the Bizarre, which is Charlie and I talking about all things behind the scenes of the podcast and things happening in life. Director's Cut, where we watch and respond to a previous episode that y'all get to vote on via poll. Netflix Party Watch. On Netflix, we put a poll out. Y'all vote. We watch a horror movie together and talk via chat. Google Hangout, where we talk one-on-one. Whoever joins, we just shoot the breeze for an hour on Google Meet. Remembering the Bizarre, what Charlie just talked about with the quiz. Mini Encounter episode. This month is mine. And I'll give you a hint. Doppelgangers. And social media response. Every single Monday, producer Ben puts out a question y'all respond to in the comments. And then at the end of the month, or technically it's the beginning of the next month, we go through, read the questions, give our answers, but then read your answers and respond to your answers. So when you hear bonus content, everything I just said is March. That's 1 month.
Yeah.
So we put a lot out there. Let me say this. I think the value's there. I think if you so like too, us and you like the content we're producing and you want more, I think we put out enough for your value.
It's definitely there.
And it's a lot of fun. It's not like we don't look at it as a chore. It's fun. We specifically chose these things, these different segments and content types because we enjoy them. We think they're fun. We think you would enjoy them. but they don't really fit the format of Bleeding
they
Bizarre.
don't fit on the main feed, right? So.
Yep. So that's all out there. And for those of you supporting us, we really appreciate it. For those of you just listening right now, we appreciate you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
We still got more show.
It's not my episode.
Yeah, no, we still got more show.
I just want to say I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it.
I do too.
A lot of things you could be doing right now.
But let's get back to the discussion. All right, so this is the discussion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Boy. So listener collection, volume 7.
4 stories here.
4 stories. The first one was that haunted road, Clinton Road in Upper New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Where the guys, they see the lights following them.
Yeah.
And then it disappears. And then the next story.
Well, let's do one at a time. Probably,
Okay. All right. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, so these guys they've been on this road multiple times.
Yeah.
And they see these lights following them. The first time they see it goes around this curve, and then it vanishes. And they're like, that's weird.
They didn't look down the hill though.
They did not check to see if it went down the hill.
No.
They just assumed that it was a ghost, I think. I mean, I would.
Would you?
I think so.
I would be very confused.
Yeah.
If I didn't know where this car went. I don't know. I've never had a ghost car experience.
I haven't either. It'd be pretty interesting though, I think. If not, very scary. So they also have this other experience where they claim that they are tailed by a ghost. Now, the people in the other car that was with them, they didn't see it. But the only 2 people in the car, the driver and the passenger, they did see this thing. So that...
How did the other people not see it, though?
Because it's a ghost.
It you had to be so sensitive to be able to see this ghost coming by. I don't know. It's a driver ghost with road rage.
Again, how could this ghost hang on to these tight turns that they're making in this little car and also just vanish?
I don't know. And I guess it adds to the lore of this road that we haven't talked about in the podcast, but Clinton Road apparently is very haunted.
Yeah.
So maybe this is like a TBD, to be determined.
I think so. I think we can put this in the pile of we will get to it.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah.
We will learn more about Clinton Road. Maybe that's going to be our Halloween Live special. We're going to be driving
in New Jersey.
It'll be like the airport where we drove for an hour and a half trying to find somewhere to park in my Wrangler. True story.
Yeah. All right. So the next story. This was Catherine's story in the winery in San Diego, California, in the woods.
The Eternal Dark Abyss winery.
Sounds beautiful.
It probably has a really good Cabernet.
It's got a great cab. I bet you it does. It's got a great California red. I don't know much about wine, honestly. But she takes her friend into the woods and she sits her down and she tells her a scary story about a man swimming up a river who is dressed in all black.
Which is a fake story.
That is fake from her. But it leads to what she claims to be the very real eyes in the woods staring at her with the audio.
An audible sigh.
Yeah. And that's the part that scared them.
What do you think, Charlie? What do you think?
I think that they were kids and they might have got a little too mixed up in the winery. The winery lore.
You think they were drinking?
No.
Yo, we got an underage drinking story.
No, they were in the woods.
The first one.
They're in the woods and they were getting freaked out. And I know she knew she was lying, but she still probably freaked herself out.
Yeah.
And they convinced themselves of this experience. I don't want to go unbelievable.
Here, I got you.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Thank you.
But this is the nice unbelievable. This isn't somebody sending us a story and saying, gotcha.
Right.
I mean, she outed herself as a liar too. Let's emphasize that. She's like, I love Halloween and I love lying.
Yeah.
Zoos.
She's like my 2 favorite things.
But I think she believed that she had a creepy experience. I agree with you entirely. I think she psyched herself out.
Yeah.
And her friend was on edge because she thought the story was true.
And she already didn't like scary things.
Yeah, and she was on edge because they're kids and they're in the dark and it's spooky. I bet there's a bunch of different animals that make a sighing sound. I feel like deer can make a sighing sound.
Yeah.
I think alligators can.
Probably cougars.
They are at a winery. Yeah, and then she even said herself the lights could have been fireflies or something, or another animal's eyes.
Yeah.
I think they had an internalized creepy experience.
Yeah.
I go unbelievable.
Yeah, I do too.
But I think they had a creepy experience. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's the safest creepy experience.
Exactly. And they said it seemed like it was maybe following them home, but I think that was just their paranoia getting them.
And I sympathize with that because we've had experiences where we felt like we were being kind of pushed or followed away.
Yeah.
Followed away. We've have felt followed before. So I sympathize with that feeling, but I don't think in this case there is any merit to it, personally.
Okay, so story number 3, the kid who was just baptized at 8 years old. He was a Mormon.
A lot of spiders.
A lot of spiders in his basement. Didn't go to the bathroom in the basement. I don't know why the family wasn't more concerned that they would move on to the house.
I have a basement bathroom.
Are there spiders in it?
Oh, they're the only ones that use it.
Did they flush?
With my water bill, they've been flushing for fun. No, seriously, I have a shower and a functional bathtub in my unfinished basement.
Ooh.
That, like...
I've seen your basement.
Yeah, it's not... nobody should be using that bathroom.
Your basement's not it, man.
I should Airbnb my basement.
To the spiders?
Like a workout space, bathroom.
Yeah. Anyway, so he goes upstairs from his basement and decides to look in the backyard. And in the backyard, he sees a large figure dressed in a black cloak. And then he stares into its eyes and gets transported to a hell dimension, at least in his mind, and then comes back.
You say large, like 6 foot. I mean, 6 foot's taller than us.
Whoa. Large that's pretty large.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the story.
I think he forgot to mention that he also grabbed his binoculars as he was looking out his door. Because the amount of detail, like he says it's a moonlit night, but the description, like, holy, he saw the skeleton.
He did. Could you imagine seeing a skeleton in your yard? Although I like the idea that you came up with.
An elemental.
Yeah.
The fact that this could actually be an elemental, not like a demon, not, Satan or anything like that, but something older than us from this planet. And I'm not like super educated or knowledgeable about elementals. It's kind of going off things I've heard and what people have told me. It's just like if I'm going to believe this is true and then something was there, I don't necessarily think it was a Grim Reaper.
No, I don't either.
And I don't think it's a demon. So that's kind of, and it's like a one-time experience.
I like it.
So it's like it was just passing by. It's not like it's haunting the house.
That's what I think is scarier about it.
The spider's got this shit down. I don't need to be touching this.
But could you imagine, like, it's just like 2 stars in the night, right? Like this thing.
2 stars in the night?
Yeah, they're passing. They're just passing momentarily.
What are you talking about?
The creature and this boy.
2 stars
in the night passing. Is that not an expression?
Is it?
I think it is.
Let us know, because
I think it is. But anyway, so their paths cross randomly.
Yeah,
and that's very scary to me. The idea that there's these things out there, and you could come across them. I could leave this parking lot tonight and get stuck in my tracks, staring down an elemental.
You better describe him in clear 4K detail to me from the distance with his bony arm.
But doesn't that scare you?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be very scary.
Yeah.
Especially he was very young. And like one thing I lightly mentioned when we were talking about it is the description he used while describing it felt childlike. And I'm wondering if that's like, I feel like this truly did impact him greatly.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like a fake submission. It doesn't feel like, I think this really sticks out to him. Do you think there's any chance he could have imagined it for anything else?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it also seems very biblical, too, which makes sense growing up heavily in religion.
And being baptized.
Yeah.
He's like, almost heard you.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
So I think there's a chance there. I mean, I'm not going to completely rule that out. It could also be a dream.
Where do you go on this story?
Viable.
Yeah, I join you in viable. Yeah, for sure.
So the last story with Heidi, with the slender man in her room.
Yeah,
now, it's hard.
Well, yeah, give us a...
Yeah, she wakes up in her bed in this very creepy room that she already admitted was creepy. Her brother thought was creepy too before she started staying there. And she wakes up with a blank face in her face, staring at her. And it seemed to be a dark robe cloak with a blank face that was tall. And she wakes up and screams and tries to throw a printer at it. And she scares the cat, and the cat scares the dad. and then it disappears into sand. Boy.
Now we gotta do an episode on the Sandman.
Neil Gaiman Sandman?
Yeah, this is just the Sandman coming. He's gonna drop a grain of a dream in her
I forgot
ear.
that was a thing. Did you wake up with sand in your eyes?
And she woke up too fast. She was swearing and he was swearing.
Yeah, he got scared.
Let me do my damn job. I'm already on probation.
Do you think she might have saw the image of the Slender Man before?
No. Oh, sorry. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
She said it was a robe, though.
She'd say
he's
robe.
not always wearing his finest. I mean, he probably went to the cryptid dry cleaners.
Sometimes you gotta dress
shop that off.
comfy, you know?
Yeah, I'm in joggers right now.
Same. Yeah.
I understand. So, no, I don't think it's Slender Man. I think she could have been subconsciously, like you were saying, saw it, didn't really register what she saw.
Yeah.
Because if she likes horror stuff, if she likes this podcast and her own paranormal things, she could have come across Slender Man. Like I said, 2012, he was popping.
Yeah.
That's when Slender, like the 8 pages.
Ooh,
came
was it
out.
called Marble Hornets?
Marble Hornets? That was like 09, 010, 2010, but it was around.
Yeah.
So there's certainly stimuli that could have led her to it. But also, I gotta say, blank face, tall figure in a robe doesn't necessarily have to be Slender Man.
No.
Like there's other entities, not like a pale man or something like that, but like there's films and there's creatures that you see that have just blank faces. It's not just Slender Man.
Yeah. It's very scary, too.
Oh yeah, I'd be freaking out.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like Pan's Labyrinth, like this guy.
I've never seen that movie, actually.
You know
I always
what I'm
wanted
talking
to.
about, though? The scene where he does this.
I do know the scene because his eyes are in his hands.
They're like, don't eat the fruit. And she's like this. And then he's like, all right. That hurt his eyes when he did that, but them fairies got eaten.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alerts, which I think also came out in 09. Could be very wrong about that.
I have no idea.
So I think she may have had, okay, so not Slender Man. Paranormal experience or like a dream in like a...
I think something paranormal. I definitely do.
That's true, because the brother also said he didn't like that room. Mm-hmm. She should have been like Slender Man don't like the room, or like there's a draft. Like,
yeah, like,
what are we talking about?
Yeah, I definitely think of some kind of spirit. I do.
I'll go viable. It's not believable because I don't think it's Slender Man.
Yeah,
but
I go viable too.
Yeah.
So that was Listener Collection Volume 7.
Listener Submission.
Listener Submission Collection Volume 7.
Yes.
Can you believe we've done 7 so far?
I can't believe it's been 5 months since we did our last one.
Yeah.
That's wild to me.
It's been a long time
when
since
you
we've
said
done
it, I'm like, we just did one. and then it's been 5 months.
I mean, it hasn't been as long as like the creature feature, but but yeah, it's been a while since we've done that.
But they're fun, and they're a great
So
opportunity. This will probably be the last one before an event we have coming up, because we got to start collecting the smaller
While I was doing this, I was letting me collect for that.
I have a couple saved up. And that's a tease, because we're not talking about it yet, but let's just say mark your calendars for early May.
Yeah, it's not this episode. We'll talk about the next one.
Next episode, we'll unleash a cool upcoming event.
Unleash the Kraken.
Because we got to talk about it even more time. We haven't talked about it in like a month in detail. I don't want to start saying
like our team hasn't
things that aren't going to happen are going to happen. It's going to be crazy though.
It's going to be a
That's
good time.
Tease.
It's going to be a good time.
But what also is a good time is when we wake up in the morning and we find out that there's reviews from y'all, because we appreciate them. So if you're on Apple, you can leave a 5-star review for the podcast as a whole and let us know what you think. Oh man, that's great. But if you're listening on Spotify, like we know you are, you can comment on every episode individually. And I know Charlie has a little sampling from comments from our last episode.
I've got 3 reviews. I wake up at like 6 and not 6.
Damn. You have been working out.
Anyway, but I wake up at like 6:45 and I look at these reviews. I'm like, these get me through the day. But one review from Miss, did you say her name?
I did say their name.
From Miss B. Bradley. This pod never fails to deliver an entertaining hour or so. Feels like sitting in a coffee shop with pals, having a great chat. Which is really nice.
That is the epitome of what I want y'all to get out of it. Entertaining, fun hour. Feel like you're chatting with friends. I love it. That makes me so happy.
Me too. I mean, that was the goal, right? Marissa Gallucci said, you guys are my favorite paranormal podcasters. Also, I'd love to have a helpful spirit in my life. Would be nice to have a helping hand from time to time. Love you guys.
Be a good time to mention that our last episode was Pete the Poltergeist.
It was.
And he brought you money. he brought you money. So I would love to have a poltergeist that brought me some change, even if it was like 75 cents a day.
Couple pounds.
That's what we call passive income, y'all.
That's true. And last review from Anthony Rossi. Love the show. The creepiest part of this episode, though, the revelation that Charlie uses spoons to peel oranges. I'm going skeptical. It's the best way to peel an orange.
It's maybe the cleanest way, but you still have to wash the spoon. Just put it in your mouth and then put it back in the drawer.
You just soak it in your mouth. There you go.
There were many people that called out our Cockney accent. That's not the Welsh accent.
I don't know.
That's okay. They
all sound British to me.
When we do a Southern accent, it's like, well, this is the West Virginia versus the Texas or the Louisiana. Like,
right.
we just let it fly, and that's part of the fun entertainment. We don't take ourselves too seriously, so don't take us too seriously.
Never have, never will,
ever.
Thank you for listening. And if you're enjoying this content, you're enjoying the main episodes, you might enjoy. Tyler listed a bunch of stuff that we do this extra on Patreon. If you're interested in any of that stuff, I recommend giving it a chance. It's a good time.
There's a lot of bonus content.
A lot.
And we appreciate you, and we're going to keep putting that out there because it's fun. Y'all like it. We like it. And it's a good time. So thank you for listening to the podcast that would absolutely burn our house down if it was full of brown recluse spiders. As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre,
a podcast as bizarre as you are.